Well, welcome to OnPoint Live right here from the Manhattan Beach studios. Hi, everybody. I'm Vince Ferragamo, former Super Bowl quarterback. Alongside me is the NFL Hall of Famer and 20-year legend, Jackie Slater. And Jackie, here we are today, Super Bowl Monday. We got to talk about this Super Bowl, one of the best Super Bowls I've seen in a long time.
One of the best of all time.
Entertaining, suspenseful, kept you on the seat of on the edge of your seat, Jackie.
Absolutely.
You
got your money's
with
worth.
Everything.
5 full quarters of football. Solid football.
That's right, overtime game.
Oh, man, the strategies were all excellent, and, it was just a fun game to watch. And I think it covered a lot of people, because I think the novice, the person that was excited about Taylor Swift, get to sit and watch her and watch the game. And then the people, the diehard football fans like you and myself, who are looking at these technical issues and what they're doing with the ball and what they're not doing, what they're doing on defense. When we started looking at all that stuff, man, it was a very exciting game.
And Jackie, two of the best teams in football, the NFC #1 seed, the AFC, they knocked out the #1 seed. So they were two great teams, well-coached teams,
Very well
Jackie.
coached.
But, this boiled down, in my estimation, to the quarterback, obviously. You had a 4-time Super Bowl quarterback playing against a first-time Super Bowl quarterback, Jackie.
And I wondered about that.
It makes it different.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I asked that question some time ago. How does a young, upstart, and talented quarterback, how does he deal with the pressure of having to go against one of the stalwarts in the league over a period of time? And does he wilt under the pressure? And I don't think I would say that Brock Purdy wilted under the pressure, but I certainly saw a whole lot of confidence in Patrick Mahomes' play.
Well, you sure did. And, it reminds you, Jackie, both these quarterbacks, there's nothing about their ability. They both can play the game. They both played at a high level. And of course, but when you look at Patrick Mahomes, you look at his qualities, his personal qualities, his intangible traits, about how he relates to his teammates, what kind of chemistry is involved between he and his teammates and also the head coach. That Andy Reid connection is just something to be marveled at. I mean, I've watched him play for now 5 years, Jackie. Each year they get to the final game. They get to the AFC Championship game. Now he's won 3 Super Bowls, 2 back-to-back. What's going to happen? We'll find out. But I'm telling you, the way he relates to his players, the encouragement he's given to some of his receivers, like Valdez-Scantling, 5 weeks ago, he was so excited. We're almost there. Positive reinforcement. Nothing criticizing the player, Jack. You know how important that is as a player. Then in the Super Bowl game, he's talking to Rashid Rice, and he's telling him, Jackie, I know what he's telling him. He said, come on, you got to get open. This is it. You got to get on. You can do this. Get open. Not criticizing, but encouraging them. And Jackie, what happens? They go out
and they work hard.
They make it happen.
They work hard. I don't know if you noticed, but I saw him on the sideline once getting on his offensive tackles, too. I mean, I'm thinking, that's unusual for him. Both his tackles had some early problems. You remember
against that defensive pass rush,
coming
best in football.
But I saw him over there talking to him, and he wasn't stressed out or anything. He was just having conversation. And I thought those guys played better as the game went along. I really did.
And, give Brock Purdy a lot of credit, too, Jackie, because for his first Super Bowl, he was calm and collected. He executed a great game plan. I mean, you can't blame the game as it boiled down to the lack of production that he had. He had 255 yards passing. He was leading his team.
And a touchdown.
They had the lead for most of the game. They were up by 10 points in this game. They just couldn't sustain. They couldn't hang on because of the way this team was built. The Chiefs. They're built to come from behind, Jackie. They can beat you out in front, and they can come from behind to beat you. Which way?
And it amazes me. It amazed me, Vince. The touchdown that they scored to go ahead, we saw that same play in the Super Bowl.
We have to draw it.
We saw that same
play. You want to draw a couple plays real quick?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Let's draw a couple plays.
They scored on that same play against Philadelphia a year ago.
What does he call that? Corn dog.
The corn dog, yeah. Let's take a look at that.
Let's draw this thing, man. Come on, you got to see this. Watch. Jackie, now, I'm going to tell you, the way they play, there's so much intuitive approach to this offense that there's all by design how they design this. Because they look at their defense, they're game planning, right? They're watching game film all week long, and they're going to design a play to go best what they think is going to win. So now, let's draw the game-winning score, and then I want to go back to a 4th and 1 play that was remarkable. Okay, maybe we can erase the board, but here it is. This is the play at the end of the game.
And what yard line were they on?
They're on the 3-5 yard line.
Right.
Okay, this is in the red zone, 5 yard line. Okay, so now as we saw, you have Hardman out here. Okay, number 12.
Yeah.
Okay, and you got Kelcy in here. Okay, 87. Patrick Mahomes usually in the gun back here. Okay, and then you've got a couple players here on the left side. What happens is on the 5 yard line, Jackie, normally you're got covered one-on-one. Okay, there's one-on-one cover. This guy comes in motion, and you got Pacheco here. This is number 15. Right? This is the stud right here.
Right.
Okay, here it all happens with this guy. He comes in motion. We call it zigzag. So zig for in, zag out for the A away, okay? Zigzag. So he comes in here. What does this guy do? He comes in here, and he releases the ball. They switch to the safety here. Okay, they're going to switch. Then he comes back out. He snaps the ball. He rolls, and he runs a flat. No one in the end zone to cover him. It's the motion. It's the creative motion that they did twice. And they put Kelcy, I think, on the corner, okay, but they covered Kelcy. So he's wide open here. That's his first look. So that's the game winner. 2 seasons in a row gives Andy Reid his championship.
That's corn dog.
Well, they call it corn dog. Okay, so now let's erase it.
You
okay.
know, Vince, you said something that we really need to tell our fans about, and that's the fact that these 2 teams were 2 of the top 4 teams in all of pro football using pre-snap motion.
Right.
And as we know, pre-snap motion is a very, very smart way by coaches to get people switching their coverages, flip, either running to the other side of the field, showing their hand, whether they're playing man or zone.
Right.
It creates a lot of clarity for the quarterback when they see the secondary move around.
It's a pre-snap look for the quarterback, gives you some indication how they're going to defend you. Okay,
Right.
So let's look at the 4th down and 1 play. This is a very creative way, and maybe some of our coaches out there looking at us will use this play at any level. It works. Okay. Well, we have to go back, I guess, to the main. Yeah, let's put this up here. Okay, and we'll bring this down. All right, so now, Jackie, we have 4th and 1. Okay, what's going to happen? Okay, we have back here, we have Pacheco here, and we have Mahomes there. Okay, now, 4th and 1, you think you could possibly run the ball. Okay, so now we have a player out here, a player out here. There's a player over here. And I don't know if this is probably Rice, or it could be Hardman. Okay, here's 87. This is the guy. So we'll talk about later what their design on defense was the first half versus second half. But this is the 4th quarter. He walks. Now, when he's walking, that tells you something. You're looking at what's happening, but in a reduced speed. Okay, so he walks and he resets over here, Jackie. For a reason. Okay, they're opposite. 4th and 1, you've got Bosa right here. They fake the ball as a run. Okay, now you mentioned as an RPO or a read option, it's a triple read.
Run pass option.
Okay, what they're hoping to do, they have to entertain this guy somehow. Now on the snap of the ball, he sees action, he comes this way, he closes hard. They're blocking all down like they're going to try to run the zone run for 1 yard. But all along, they know they're going to pull the ball and move in this direction.
If he crashes.
If he crashes. Now, if he comes upfield, here comes Kelcy, he'll block him. But otherwise, he goes in the flat. This is his number 1 man. Okay? This guy runs a slant route, a delayed slant. Now, and delayed because you have a little play action. So now Mahomes is coming here, 1-2. If he's open, he throws it. It's a 5-yard pass completion for a first down. If he covers, if the safety jumps him, there's nobody there.
And down he goes.
He only needs 1 yard.
He only needs 1 yard, but how many did he get, though?
Beautiful. 5, 6, or 7?
Yeah, he surely did.
Jackie,
that was
he had
a well-designed play.
Running.
And it's right out of most colleges' playbook.
Here's an interesting fact. He had, every time he touched the ball on a pass attempt or a running play, on a pass attempt, his average was 7.2 yards per attempt, just holding the ball in his hand. Mm-hmm. His running for him personally running was 7.3 yards.
Wow.
For 2 plays, it's over 15 yards.
That's impressive. That's production out of the quarterback. But more importantly,
to me, I mean, this is just beautiful.
It speaks volumes for Andy Reid's meticulous calculations of how they want to move the ball down the field. It's not always about the big chunks and the deep passes and the guys running all over the place. Right. It's about managing the clock, moving the football, maintaining control of the football, and then putting points on the board as you slowly move the ball down the field.
And as you mentioned, Jackie, it's critical first downs.
Right.
Got to get the fourth down, got to get third down play conversions, and they do it.
Absolutely.
And that's a mark of a great team.
That was pretty good.
Those are that's the reason why they're in the Super Bowl, and that's the reason why they have 3 Super Bowls to their credit right now with that quarterback, Jack. And but looking at the other side of the ball,
there were some issues. Now, listen, I want to ask you a question, Vince.
Yeah.
You know, did Kyle Shanahan make a mistake taking the ball first in overtime? I mean, think about it. Kyle Shanahan, he explained, he said why he did it. He said, we just wanted the ball third, he said. If both teams matched and scored, we want to be the ones that had the chance to win on the third possession. But that's not exactly what the rules say that you should be thinking, is it?
Well, analytics, I don't know if they've ever figured that one out. But I would tell you, during the regular season, you would always take the ball first because if you go down and score a touchdown, game's over. But in the playoffs in the NFL and the Super Bowl, it's different. Okay, so each team gets to touch the ball. But there's no guarantee that you're going to get the ball the third time. It could be decided after the first possessions of both teams. Okay, each team's going to get a possession. Now, the way to think of it is if you defer it and you wait to see what your opponent does, you're in position to win. If I take the ball first, I don't control my own destiny. I go kick a field goal, I still don't know what's going to happen. I could lose. The best I could hope for is they don't score, I win, or they kick a field goal, we go a second overtime. Then I have a better chance. But if you're guaranteed a second possession, then yes, take it.
But he wasn't guaranteed a second possession.
Because the second position, the Chiefs play great coming from behind. If they know what they have to do to win, they'll go out and win. That's what they did in regulation. Jack, you mentioned how many plays drive with 1:53 seconds. They went down the field right before the end of the game.
What was it, 13 plays?
13 plays.
That's a lot of snaps.
And a pass into the end zone, which is incomplete.
Right.
They tried to win it there.
And, just looking at that game, you would conclude that for the first 58 minutes of that game, that the Chiefs were all balled up. They got more sacks against Patrick Mahomes than I think we've seen in a while. They limited their running game for the most part. And then all of a sudden, less than 2 minutes to go, they run off 13 plays, get the game tied, get into overtime, and basically win the game.
They go 15 plays in overtime to score a touchdown with the pass we diagram. So, but Jackie, when you look at Kyle Shanahan, I mean, they played a great game. It was a great, fun game to watch. And if you're a 49er fan, you're so disappointed because they had that game. If they had better play on special teams, they had a miscue on special teams. They missed an extra point. Didn't it kind of reminisce about our missed PAT that we had? Right. Jackie, came back to bite them because that last drive in the fourth quarter might have been a different story, having to go for a touchdown versus kicking a field goal.
Right. Now, Vince, I got to ask you this, as we go along, because I think some of this is unfairly, but some of it is warranted because of Kyle Shanahan's position as the play caller. In 3 different Super Bowls now where this has kind of happened, backfired on him. Did Kyle Shanahan's play calling cost his team another Super Bowl, in your opinion? They blamed him for the Atlanta Patriot game when they came back from the 28-3 deficit, and he was throwing the ball instead of running it. And then same thing a couple of years ago there in San Francisco. Do you think his play calling was an issue?
It's a good question. It's a good question to analyze, Jackie. But, as most of the credit goes, you have to share some of the blame too as well. But he's been responsible for the resurrection of this team and the way they played and to get in the Super Bowl with a lot of his play calling. I have a question as to the way the defense reacted, because this was a game of two halves in my mind. The first half, 49ers were in control of this game, and defensively, they were stopping. They only scored 3 points, Jackie.
Right.
I mean, it was, it was remarkable the way they were playing, and they were doing it with their 4-man rush. So I question the play calling on the defensive side of things, not really the offensive side. They were still, moving the football. But, they ran into a couple 3 plays and out, but that's because of, we'll talk about Spagnoula, how good he was on defense. But, when you go and you're double teaming Kelcy, their number one target, let someone else beat you. They changed their whole philosophy the second half. What for? They got to still double him. He had a huge second half. Jack crossing the ball, getting open over the middle. He went up, and that's another thing we need to talk about, is the incident that happened with Travis Kelce. But to emphasize your point about the coaching, I still think the other play was to disguise your defensive coverages. And they showed blitz, and they just came. And so it's very easy to dissect.
If you remember, Kyle Shanahan called a timeout one time to get his defensive coordinator, Wilkes, out of a call that he could see from the sideline that he didn't want.
That's right.
So they made that correction. And I'm not sure. I think they were showing blitz. I think you thought they were showing coverage.
I think they were going to come with the blitzing, Jackie, but they were eating it up. I mean, that's the one thing about, the Chiefs. When you play the Chiefs, you have to keep things simple, and you just have to use what you do best, and that is their front four, their defensive front four for the 49ers. Just go after them. We'll try to cover the best we can, and we'll try to limit Mahomes, keep them in check.
Vince, you saw the success that they were having with Bosa and Young. Both of them were beating those Kansas City tackles.
I don't know why they changed.
Early on, they both had sacks, and it was only going to get worse if they had just kept doing what they were doing.
Right. And I just keep playing it until they take me out of it.
Right.
That's the way you have to play the NFL. Keep exposing their defense. But here was an incident we need to talk about, Jackie, on the sideline during the game. And a lot of people have a different version of this. When Travis Kelce was frustrated in the first half, he bumped into Andy Reid. And I don't know if he bumped into him purposely, kind of pushed him around a little bit, which could be interpreted differently. The view didn't look good from my angle, what I saw. But knowing the player in the spur of the moment, in the heat of the battle, and knowing that Andy Reid is a former football player, he's offensive tackle, blocked for Jim McMahon for BYU at right tackle. Jackie, he's a physical guy, but he understands the emotions of his players. And some people will interpret it different ways. But to set an example for people, I think it's important that you're a role model. And so many people look up to these ball players that you don't really want to do something that's going to tarnish your image. And, he's been such a great player all these years. But I think Andy Reid had the sense about himself. He says, look, I can see the frustration building up in this guy, and he's emotional anyway. So he just took it as a grain of salt. He just took it. He got pushed in. He came after the game, says, I got to be careful with, bumping me because I lose my balance really easily.
Well, Vince, a lot of people are really upset because they said that he was yelling at the coach. He was disrespecting the coach on the sidelines. The coach is in charge, and the players are supposed to do what the coach tells him to do. And there's something to be said for that. But knowing the intensity of a professional football environment when you're competing, I know that's not reality because everybody is different. Everybody has their own personalities. And as you get to know, there's nobody knows Travis Kelce better than Andy Reid.
Yes.
Nobody knows Andy Reid better than Travis Kelce, particularly in the competitive environment. And I'm talking about getting after one another in practice, getting after one another, getting after opponents in games. There's something about who you are as a competitor that only a very few people get to see on a regular basis. And so I am sure, and I am convinced that Travis Kelce and Andy Reid has a relationship that allows freedom of that kind of expression that we saw. And for a lot of people, it's just like
interpretation.
Those same people who grimace when they see a quarterback get knocked to the ground or see a guy get his knee blown out. You need to understand that the emotions that are present in an environment like pro football, sometimes they spill over like that.
Right.
And it doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. Andy Reid's feelings weren't hurt. He might have felt a little bit bad that he yelled, but I don't think he felt bad about doing it because he was communicating with him something that they both probably agreed should have been going on.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of getting it out and getting on with it. So I didn't take it the way I think a lot of other people did.
And let's set the story straight for the young kids at home, okay? This is not the normal course of action that you take on a sideline with your coach. You respect the coach.
Right.
Okay, but when you make it to a Super Bowl game, you're allowed to do whatever you want to do, okay? But not until you go that far, because it's almost like a marriage, when you have mom and dad, and you have husband and wife. I mean, my wife and I, we have spills at one and each other. I mean, we yell and scream at each other. We still love each other, right? So, you almost have to kind of deal with those. It's a marriage. It's a loving relationship. And that's what you said, Jackie. It's a loving relationship between player and coach.
Right.
And, they know each other. They know the ins and outs about what motivates each other. And that's what he needed. Maybe he needed to expel this kind of emotion to get everything going.
Right.
Everybody took notice. And maybe that woke everybody up. I don't know, because it happened in the first half. It sure didn't happen in the second half.
It didn't happen in the second half, and they stopped double covering him, and they got him the ball, and he made some big plays, big run after the catches and everything.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, before we go to our next question, we really have to thank our sponsor who has helped us produce this entire program, this OnPoint Live that we have to bring this to our viewers at home. And that is the Central Coast Home Health and Hospice, Jackie.
They've been fantastic.
I mean, they have really been supportive and very cooperative in understanding, but they really provide such a great service to people, not only from physicians-directed nursing to also rehabilitation and then home health.
Home assistance
at your home, that
personalized.
It really is something to really consider, especially when things are not going great, especially for your loved ones, and you really want to keep them in the comfort of your own home.
Right.
I mean, this is a place to turn to. So you can look them up, but as you would think, Jackie, they help benefit so many.
People that have big hearts, and you can just tell by talking to the leadership committee there that they're in it for. Obviously, it's a business, but they're in it for people, and because they realize the desperation that people find themselves in at times, and there is a real need to be able to come alongside people and assist them during these very difficult times in their lives when they are, facing the possibility of losing a loved one. So, it takes a special person to do this kind of work, and it's been interesting to find that this organization is loaded with special people in a lot of different departments, man. It's really impressive.
And they are there to help, Jackie, and they do service a lot of the communities in the San Luis Obispo area and the Santa Barbara area, but if you need any help or any questions, that you're having options and you need to consider certain ways to help your family members, please look them up on the website. That's Central Coast Home Health, homehealth.com. So Central Coast homehealth.com, and they'd be more than happy to help you out, answer any of your questions, and direct you to what's best for you and your loved ones. So, but we want to really thank them for helping support us and to bring you this show. So, but moving on, Jackie, with this Super Bowl, I mean, God, there was, talking about defense wins championships, right?
Right.
So, I mean, what is your impressions now after you've seen what the Chiefs were able to contend with in Buffalo on the road, to go to the Ravens, to beat the Ravens in Baltimore on the road, and now come to Vegas and win Super Bowl 58? Steve Spagnuolo. Is he the co-MVP or what?
You got to say he is the co-MVP. Steve Spagnuolo was a head coach in the NFL at one point in time for the Rams, and I personally don't think he didn't have great amount of success, but I think one of the things that happened was he diluted his ability to be himself and the special coach that he is. He didn't get to just sit there and handle the defense.
His talent is on defense.
This guy is a tremendous play caller on defense. I don't know how many times, Vince, if I were an offensive lineman in that Super Bowl yesterday and I walked to the line of scrimmage, I don't know how many times I would have looked and say, okay, there's a possibility of a blitz here. No, most of the time, if I had walked to the line of scrimmage, I would have said, oh, I've got to block him. That's nothing showing me anything that's going to, put me in a desperate situation where I have to switch it off or pass it off or make calls. I just see my guy sitting here. Yeah. And then all of a sudden at the snap of the ball, you got boom, boom, boom. You got guys hitting the A gap, hitting the B gap, coming from everywhere, getting pressure on the quarterback. And now I'm confused. Now I didn't have a chance to see it so that I can anticipate it. And that's what Steve Spagnuolo did to them yesterday. He's been doing it all playoffs long. He's surprising people with his blitzes. They're coming from everywhere inside in the A and B gap. They're coming from the C and D gap outside, and is putting pressure on all 5 offensive linemen, not just the tackles, but the guards and the centers as well. And I just can't say enough about the play calling and the design that Steve Spagnuolo put together.
Well, you're right about the schemes, Jackie, for sure. Now, I see what's going on in the secondary. Not only play man-to-man, he'll play some zone, he'll play some zero coverage, he'll do some blitz, but never the same look. And I think the same look, that applies to the offensive line as well, because sometimes I'd see Chris Jones over the A gap, then he's over the B gap, then he's over C, then he's over here on the right side.
Right.
And the right tackle is lined up against his defensive end. He's not always lined up outside shade. He might be lined up head up.
Right.
What's going on?
What they were doing with Chris was they was putting him on who they thought the duck was at that particular.
Yeah, because a couple times he got right in there.
Yeah, at that particular anticipated depth that the quarterback was going to take. So they felt like, okay, if he's going to be sitting at 5, he's probably going to have a better chance of beating this guy. Right. If he's going to be sitting at 7 or 3, he's going to have a better chance to beat this guy. So it's all predicated on. Yeah, it's very, very well thought out, Vince.
I saw one scheme where they had both their safeties that were like linebackers, and Trent McDuffie, who, this secondary can play. They play one-on-one as good as I've seen any secondary play in the NFL right now.
Very good secondary.
Blocking balls away. The balls that Brock Purdy had were right on the money, blocked away at the last minute. But Trent McDuffie came in on a 4th down or a 3rd down in short play against Purdy, and he blitzed. And you wouldn't know he was blitzing. Mm-mm. He disguised it, and he came like he's looking over here, and all of a sudden, boom. He's in that gap, and he's right on the quarterback, knocked the ball away. Jackie, that would have been a 1st down. That could have been a big difference in the game. But it was because of design on defense.
And the receiver was open, if it's the one I'm thinking about.
Sure, open. He was wide open. He got open that time. But, that entire secondary, Snead was good, McDuffie, Joshua Williams, Justin Reid, smart guys back there, Jack.
It was impressive to watch. It really was.
I'm telling you, a lot of credit. Defenses win championships, but when you have a quarterback like Mahomes,
it doesn't hurt, does it?
Jeez, oh.
So speaking of Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid took the worst offensive team that they've had in the 6 years that Mahomes has been the quarterback. This was statistically the worst offensive team that they had. But Vince, look what they did. They beat the number 6 seed. They beat the number 2 seed. Mm-hmm. They beat the number 1 seed in the AFC, and then they just beat the number 1 seed in the NFC in the Super Bowl. This speaks volumes for the quality of play, but where's all this magic coming from?
Well, Jackie, they were the underdogs in all those games, and they win all those games. So you know what they said after the game? They can't make us an underdog anymore. Because they're going to have to make them a favorite. And then what's the chances now, Jackie, of them going a three-peat? It's never been done in the history of the NFL in 58 Super Bowls. There's been a lot of teams, 8 teams now have gone back-to-back. Pittsburgh Steelers have done it twice. But a lot of teams, now Kansas City's done back-to-back. Can they do a three-peat?
Vince, after what I've seen this offseason,
with that team
through this playoffs, because I never would have thought they would have beat the Ravens the way they did. And then I certainly didn't After that, I'm thinking I am not betting against Andy Reid and Mahomes. I'm not going against these guys anymore. And sure enough, even when I thought they might have been out of the game of the Super Bowl, they proved me wrong, and then they got back in it and won it. Right now, the San Francisco 49ers are favored to win the Super Bowl next year.
I saw that.
But do I think the Kansas City Chiefs are being overlooked right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Their second pick again.
I think they're being overlooked because I can certainly see with this quarterback and Andy Reid and some of the players that they have on this team, Chris Jones being one of them, and that secondary that you were talking about, I can't see any reason why they can't.
Well, there's a lot of incentive, Jackie, for both teams to do it again. And some people say, I hate to see the same teams play twice. Look, all I want to see is the best two teams play.
Right.
And if they both deserve to be playing in the Super Bowl, they will be matched up. But it may be different next year because now they come back with one more year experience for the 49ers with this young quarterback they've got. And if that team stays intact, I mean, they could give a lot of players, a lot of teams some fits. And so will the Chiefs. But both those teams will have tough schedules next year. We talked a little bit about the Rams schedule, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
What about the Rams next year?
Oh,
Goodness gracious.
Interesting schedule.
Did you get it?
I mean, Vince, they have going to have.
I've got it right here.
I think people are going to be running out and trying to get themselves.
They got to play the AFC East, okay?
They play the AFC East.
Their home games, okay? They got Buffalo. They've got San Francisco, obviously. Green Bay comes to town.
Green Bay, Miami,
Philadelphia.
The Raiders. And then Minnesota.
Okay.
And then not to mention Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks up there and over there in Arizona. I mean
in Arizona, you're right.
This is going to be this is a pretty exciting group of teams that are going to be coming in here, and I'm going to go down and try to get my tickets lined up because this is going to be a fun season to watch coming up. Yeah. And the Rams they're going to be a year older with that young team that they drafted and all those talented young guys.
And they're going to be first pick. They've got the first pick this year. First time in a long time. I think they'll have a number one draft pick.
Yes.
See what they go for.
Yeah, well, they're going to do a good job there. Snead and his staff have done a pretty good job this past year.
Puka had such a great year.
How about him? Puka Nacua.
He was second voting to C.J. Stroud.
Yes.
Another reason why they give it to the quarterback was he's a quarterback. Right?
Yeah, and the quarterback was special, Vince. Come on now. That rookie quarterback
I mean,
played.
that was impressive.
He did not play like a rookie.
They were both impressive.
They were.
But, when you stop and think about, the only thing I think that influenced the voting was the fact that a quarterback in his first year is so difficult to be at the top of your game in 1 year in the NFL. Right. There's a big adjustment. Whereas a receiver coming in, you can make a little bit easier adjustment, although it's tough, but it's not as tough as it is on the quarterback. But C.J. Stroud was playing like a veteran player all year long.
Right.
At one point, what did he have, like 21 touchdowns and 1 interception or something, Jackie? Right. It was like phenomenal play.
Veteran stuff.
Yeah. So the Super Bowl, Jackie, what commercials did you like? We got to talk 1 minute about the commercials.
Well, I saw a lot of different commercials, and I thought many of them were quite zany and pointless. A few with the stars in it. I saw Tom Brady in 2 different commercials. And
wait, that Dunkin' Donuts, he was in one.
Yes.
Was he a DJ or something?
Yes. I didn't really, I really didn't get into events because it seemed like they were all trying to be over the top.
Yeah.
And just made me want to go and get something to drink.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah, that's a time to go get, a refreshment or something. But I'll tell you, Jackie, Usher was at the halftime, but one of the commercials that I really liked was the BMW commercial.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they had Usher at the end of that thing. But that was about Christopher Walken, and he's like almost impossible to mimic, because of his inflections of his voice and what he says and how weird he says things. And so everybody was trying to mimic him, and nobody could come up to the proper imitation. So it's like, hey, there's only one Christopher Walken, and then they said there's only one ultimate driving vehicle, and that's a BMW.
Oh,
so I said the rest is just an imitation. So I was like, and then they played Express Yourself. I like that song.
Oh, okay.
Can you play that on the guitar, Jack?
No, I can't.
Come on, man.
Come on, Jack. No, I can't. Well, Vince, that's something I learned about you after all these years, that you pay very close attention to the Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah, I'm in tune to everything, Jack. You got to watch it all. So that was great, but especially spend $7 million to do a commercial, man.
$7 million for 30 seconds.
Woo-wee.
Commercial time.
Man,
And I think when we were in Super Bowl 14, we played in Super Bowl 14, I think it was 241,000.
Do you know how much
for
our
30
average
seconds.
ticket was in our Super Bowl? On our tickets? We only got, We only got 15 tickets or something.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to get 30. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Yeah.
And then, we were going to super teams over there, and Jody was
What
talking
were they?
to
What were they,
some
like
of the other wives.
$55 or something like that?
$30.
$30 for a Super Bowl
Yeah,
ticket.
Super Bowl ticket. Now they're like $5,000.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Average ticket price.
Did you scalp your tickets? Did you sell your tickets for a bonus?
No, I had too many family members wanting to go. I had
me
family
too.
come from the East Coast. They were all coming all over.
Me too.
They all went out the door.
Yeah, I didn't go
My
into the
wife,
scalping
though,
business.
and my dad, my wife didn't have a ticket leading up to the game. So the night before, she calls the ticket office, says, I don't have a ticket. Well, we gave him to Vince. Well, I can't get a hold of Vince now. It's the night before the game. So she's sitting right behind Danny DeVito and Tony Danza, who are big Pittsburgh Steeler fans.
Wow.
And they're cheering, kill that son of a gun, get that guy. And she had to tap him on the back of the shoulder. She says,
That's my husband.
hey, guys, that's my husband. Oh, Mrs. Ferragamo, I'm sorry. We're Italian. We'll cheer for him. It was great, man.
Is that what happened with Johnny?
That's what happened.
Oh,
she
man,
ended up
that's
sitting
funny.
behind those two guys.
How
Oh,
about that, huh?
Man, I'll tell you, big Pittsburgh fans. The only team to win 2 back-to-back Super Bowl championships.
Yeah, they did it twice, huh?
They did it twice, the only team. So
Wow.
we'll
They were
see.
loaded.
But we'll see what happens next year, Jackie.
Yep, they were loaded.
A great schedule. And so until next time when we hook up again, buddy, we have to tell our folks, stay on point.